Hi Beckett, how are you?
Drew, fancy seeing you here.
Yeah. So we're here having a look at your match on an online 7-point Highlander tournament that just started recently, and test one that Isaac and others have done on the Discord. Tell me about that.
Oh yeah, well it's perfect for me. I mean, I already play on Moto, and that's what a lot of people, I guess, were worried about in joining the league. It's zero entry fee, which is fantastic, which means all you have to do is spend money on renting the cards. So it's a really great initiative from the guys that are doing it. And as I said, perfect for me. I play a lot of competitive Highlander, and I play a lot of Moto, so really keen to get into it.
This is you showing your companion. How does that work on Moto?
Yeah, I didn't know until today because I haven't played with companions on Moto. But I guess you just pick it out of your sideboard. You do it automatically. It's not too finicky.
Does it automatically show your opponent that you're playing companion?
Yep.
Okay.
And you don't need to do anything. If it's in your sideboard and the deck is legal for that card, that companion will offer it as a selection.
Cool. Yeah, that's good. So we'll look at the sideboard after game one. But did you know? So there's your hand. Tell me about that.
Oh, it's a good hand. I mean, you can't expect a perfect hand, obviously. I'd prefer, ideally, something proactive, and then have the mana leak to keep up after I play that. I don't consider myself a tempo tech, but I still like to play with tempo style in that play a threat, and then you keep up your counter spells afterwards. But it's Lantern spells, right?
So do you want to say a little bit about your deck, or should we just go ahead and see what happens?
Oh, yeah. Very briefly. I mean, my deck's on Moxfield if anyone wants to check it out. Banned by Beckett. Been performing really well with it. It started off just as I want to play the best cards in the colours.
Let's pull it up.
I didn't want to have to think about, synergies too much. I really like that. I mean, that's a mid-range concept, isn't it? Playing the best spells in the colours without hesitation. And that's what I did, and it's got both control and mid-range elements to it. And I think its biggest boon is that no one knows how to sideboard against it, because you've got cards like Scavenging Ooze, Questing Beast, Hex Drinker, and you've also got cards like Daze, Force of Negation, Mana Leak. So, which aspect do you keep up? Do you start in Veil and Mystical Dispute and hold them up to try to counter my ACOL, or do you side in Supreme Verdict to try to beat my Dork, Goyf, Hex Drinker hand?
Yeah.
You just got to hope it lines up well, and I think that's where you get the most wins, is by people either sideboarding incorrectly or just it not lining up well. And I don't have to choose. It depends if I get a good hand that's proactive, I'll play it proactive. If I get a good hand that's controlly, I'll play it controlly.
And the deck, it does well in both roles.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. So how would you describe this hand then?
It's controlly, right? Because
Yeah.
I've got 2 counter spells, I've got a lot of mana, and I've got a big late game threat. So I'm pretty cemented in the control role here. Of course, it can switch depending on what my opponent's doing. As I find out my opponent's on Prowess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you know that going in?
No, I didn't know it going
Okay.
in. But I think it's pretty obvious after turn 1.
All right. So another thing you like about the Moto environment is the kind of the chess clocks, as it were. Although they're pretty generous for this tournament, you got 40 minutes each.
Incredibly generous.
Yeah.
It makes for a long slog. What would you prefer? Like, do you think ideally Magic would have almost infinite time? Pending it ruining the rest of your day, as far as the integrity of the game itself.
Like cricket, which is the better format.
Yeah, that's right.
I think it's established that one of the skills Magic is testing is your ability to play in a timely fashion. That's Wizards has said that. I do like the scholarly mode where you've misstepped the turn 1.
Yeah, that's right. So I led with basic Island there, I think, to play around a possible Blood Moon or Wasteland style.
Okay.
And then I could pay life and play around Daze, but happy to just not get burnt out. And if they have Daze and they're dazing turn 1, I don't know. It means it's not a very threatening Swift Spear because they don't have the mana to back up the following turns.
And I think, preserving your life is really important in this matchup because they're trying to make the game about life. And you're registering that and respecting that, even to the point of playing your land tapped here.
And I think it's pretty. I mean, it's pretty obvious they're on Prowess, right? There's not many decks that are going to run Monastery Swift Spear and a volcanic, right?
You could just run. Yeah, you're right. It could just be a rug tempo list. Doesn't
It
have
could
to
be, yeah. But even Sarv's rug list, rug life didn't run Swift Spear,
No.
and regardless, it's going to follow the similar principles that you want to conserve your life total.
Yeah, so I wrote an article with Dan about rug ProwessS, which was innovated by Sophie Pizzuto. And did you get anything out of that article?
Big time, yeah, big time.
How did you apply that?
I treated it like an infect deck. And I've played against a lot of infect in Modern where you don't want to do too much interaction in their combat, especially when they've got mana up, because there's a good chance. Yeah, this is a weird gush. That's an early gush.
For them, yeah.
I was thinking, I was really confused by this, and I think, especially with my mana open, I thought if I can counter a threat, I feel like I just win the game here. Yeah, like I think the problem with the ProwessS deck is that if it doesn't have the creature, it can have a whole lot of dead cards in hand.
Yeah.
So the trick is to counter the creatures.
Maybe they didn't have any creatures and they were kind of digging for them, but they could have just hung out.
They could have. I haven't played with the deck very much. Maybe the logic is if you're not playing a threat on turn 2, you're going to lose the game anyway. So I don't really know what my opponent had in hand, so it's hard to criticize the gush. But the gush did look a bit weird to me. I thought it was a bit off.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking here and you're seeing 1 land versus 4, yeah, that's pretty punishing.
But I mean, playing against Infect, I know that because I play hard control in Modern, and plenty of times the game goes late and they just overload me with cheap interaction. Even though I've got like 6-7 mana out, they've got 4 mana out, and then they just find the idiot. They play the idiot, and then they've got all these hexproof pumpers, and even though I had a lot of mana and the cards, it still overwhelms me.
Yeah.
Because their interaction is cheaper than my interaction.
Yeah, you can do that in ProwessS. You don't
exactly. So I was really worried about still going to late game.
They got ACall and Treasure Cruise to get that critical mass, and they can kind of combo out. Sure.
Absolutely. And Pro P is very good. They see the Force and negation. I was able to put Lucha into my hand there because that's one of the beautiful things about Force. You don't have to keep it up when you can put Lucha in your hand. And if you have something you have to force, force. Otherwise, you just get +1 card. Yeah,
when Lutri kind of turns Force of Will into cancel as well, like you can always just, it does the same thing. You've spent 3 mana, you've countered a spell, you're not down on cards.
That's right.
Yeah.
And importantly, I don't have green for Titania, but I'm happy to just play a Hex Drinker here.
So Fracture Identity is not at its best against a very low CMC deck, but it's still removal.
Yeah, agreed. Although now that I'm up to 5, I think that it's bad because there's a good chance you'll never get up to 5 against this deck because it's so fast. But now that I'm up to 5, it feels really good.
Okay.
And I choose not to level. I think I'm just going to be patient, keep the Force of Negation up.
You could have kept it up but you would have to pitch one of your blue cards. You value those blue cards more than the tempo of getting the 4/4.
Yeah. Okay. Right. I mean, if I really wanted to fight here, I can pitch Identity and then Lutri the Force if I think it's going to get countered.
So is this on your end step?
No, this is his main phase.
Okay.
Lightning Bolt.
Do you reckon they would have bolted if you tried to level up in your turn?
Yeah, I thought 100% they've got a Lightning Bolt.
But then you would have been in trouble because you couldn't have done the negation.
Because I haven't played any threats yet. So there's a very good chance they've got, they play like Lava Dart and Firebolt and stuff like that. There's a very good chance they've got a Bolt effect in their hand.
Okay, yeah, that's a good reason not to level up. You don't want to get tempoed out like that.
Especially if you've got other things to do. I think Hex Drink is at its best when you're like, I don't have anything else to do. I might as well throw the mana into this.
Yeah.
But Savannah Lines is a sick card, man.
Yeah.
It's really good. Savannah Lines that people are scared of, even on turn, what are we on? Turn 6. Mm-hmm. That's a Savannah Lines that my opponent's respecting. I mean, that's a good card.
Yeah.
Playing around Price of Progress here.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Some lists don't play it, but I think it's definitely, you got to respect it and play around it if you can. So you're assembling quite a good aggressive force here. Is Caracas, does that do any work against this person's deck, or?
There might be a Zergo Bellstriker or something like that. It's not really ProwessS-y, but certainly I can Caracas my own stuff back, like my own Lutri. You can go block Caracas Lutri. Also of note, I don't know, we might have skimmed over it, but they resolved ACOL after their Bolt.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see that.
So after I forced. But to be honest, I'm still actually, if I had a choice, I'd probably counter the ACOL. But I'm still pretty happy.
So they've got 8 cards in hand, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot.
But they don't have the threat. That's the key point.
Yeah, they've got a...
And I'm still pretty happy that I was able to counter the bolt, even though ankle resolved, because it's that tempo. Like, I've got the board presence now, and it's very hard for them to win without winning the board.
Yeah.
So even though they get lots of cards, I've completely dominated the board here.
And it's hard for them to attack through like a 4/4.
That's right.
Because of the red removals and bolts and stuff.
Well, even Hexdrinker just being a 2/1 blocker, jump blocker. Not that it needs to be now, but let's say 2-3 turns from now, when they've finally established a prowessy threat and want to swing, they have to find trample as well.
Yeah,
it's just another step for them. So I think the 2/1 buddy is really, really important.
No, you're right. You're just going to play cautiously, make sure you don't die as you chip in. So you're going to have how much power on the board are you going to have soon? You're going to have
I could have 12, but I could actually have lethal, right? And I'd be one off, but I think it's hard for them to finish the game without fetching or shocking.
Yeah, you need another mana to ult the Hexdrinker.
Yeah.
How often do you use Lutri just as a flash threat?
Often, yeah.
Half the time?
Yeah, probably. I used to save it up a lot more, but...
That's a good barbering there.
Yeah, it is.
Get rid of your Hexdrinker.
But once again, look at that. I invested 1 mana into that Hexdrinker. And I think to me, that's where Hexdrinker's at its best. Not when it's 8 levels swinging. Everyone knows that's what it does well. But when it's just a Savannah Lions and people that's turn 6 barbering Savannah Lions, Because they're terrified of me going, untap, make it pro instance, or untap, make it a Progenitus. And they respect it. Not more than they should. I'm not criticizing my opponent's move there.
No, but that's a testament to the quality of the card.
Testament to the quality of the card that they feel obliged to do that. Playing back to basics again. Not
price.
Back to basics, price and progress.
Yeah, that'll do 8 damage to you. But yeah, the fact that you're on a high life total at this stage of the game is really encouraging. They're not going to be able to combo you out easily.
That's right. High life total, and there's no Kiln Fiend out.
Yeah.
That can just cheat the win. Because I think you'd agree I'm pretty far ahead, but the SProwess deck's got a really good ability to win games out of nowhere.
They got 7 cards.
As long as there's no Kiln Fiend or, Hypnotic Spectre. What's that the new blue-red 1/1 that gets +1 counters?
Oh, like the little Drake or Dragon or something.
Thing, yeah. As long as they don't have something
Sprite Dragon.
As long as they don't have something like that out, I don't think they can win out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, they can, but they need a very particular... You could Berserk and then another doubling and or like the...
On the Hierarch, you mean?
Yeah. You can make the Hierarch like a base 6/4 for 1 mana, scale up, and then you can double that and double it again. But that's a very particular combination of cards.
Not through this hand, at least.
No, you've got the Brazen Borrows, the instant speed removal, so they could burn. You could really punish them for playing like pump spells.
Plus, they have to kill me right now. Maybe I should have actually just borrowed.
You could petty theft
in my turn or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, you can copy your petty theft, but there's only one target.
Yeah, but importantly, I can copy it in response to a counter spell or in response to a hexproof. So I can go petty theft, pass priority. They blossoming defense, and then I loot tree in response.
Yeah,
and then I've got another blocker in loot tree as well.
Yeah, that's great.
So I think this one's pretty tied up. So, I mean, and here's a really big point. I won the game there against an aggro opponent with 7 cards in hand, and the average CMC of their deck is crazy.
It's like under 2.
It's crazy low. Yeah. It's mostly 1-drops.
So they just didn't have the attacker to deploy their hand on.
Exactly.
So tell me about your sideboarding.
Really happy. I almost cut a blue elemental because I'm running both blue and hydro. Really happy I got both there.
Yeah. I know Dan Abraham's really high on double blue blast or triple, partly because they hit the red threats in the Rug SProwess decks.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's not much Rug SProwess in Adelaide, but in the interstate meta, I'm really happy to have it. I think I don't side in Veil here. Cut days because I'm on the draw. Cut the fatty. And this is a disciplined cut as well. Cutting Titania even after it just won me the game. It's just too late. I think if I'm getting up to 5 mana, I'm probably already winning.
Cutting past Gel, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think in hindsight I'd keep it, but I feel quite comfortable, in this matchup, and I think it creates a sense of chaos that I just don't want to deal with.
Okay. Oh yes, you don't want to lose them.
It's
on
high
up and
risk,
get
high
punished.
reward.
Okay. You just want the cheat removal in the Winds of Abandon.
Well, Winds isn't great, but as I said in the last game, the way I win is by keeping that prowess guy off the field.
Mm.
It's not by winning the card advantage battle.
Yeah.
And Winds of Abandon does that. If I can go 2 mana, really bad Path to Exile on a Kiln Fiend, I think I'm happy.
Yeah.
And it's sorcery speed, which is when I'm going to be playing most of my removal anyway.
Yeah, well, because you don't want to get blown out by the
I think Blossoming Defense is the perfect example of that, or Vines of Vastwood, where you go to kill them and instead they get hexproof and +4/+4, and you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
And if you've just done it in your main phase, they don't get that +4/+4. They still get to hexproof it, but they don't get the prowess trigger. They don't get the +4/+4. So,
yeah, you probably invalidated a lot of the cards in their hand just by negating their board presence. Like you kind of had a moat in play just by removing their creatures one by one.
Yeah. So I didn't add Veil there. Veil's possibly very good, but I think it stops counter spells, and the cards that I'm getting countered are my removal spells. It doesn't deal with the threat on the board. It's going back to what I said before. It doesn't deal with the threat on the board.
So that hand's perfect.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
You got 3 removal spells in Elemental Blast, Submerged Path, and you got
cheap as well,
and a cheap threat in Goyf, and who also functions as a moat when he blocks.
That's right. Yeah, Goyf's very, very good against aggro decks like Zoo. I remember Goyf just being fantastic against Zoo because it was a 4/5 and all their creatures were 4 power or 3 power max.
Yep, stops Gurt Ape. Okay, so Preordain, so you got a bit of selection as well, and that'll fuel your Tarmogoyf as well. Oh well, they've already cast Preordain, but what's happening here? Oh, you saw Teferi Acol.
Yep.
Okay.
So bottom Teferi. I just don't need it, and it's a bit slow.
So you didn't want to hold up Blue Elemental Blast because you just want to be more mana efficient?
Well, the beauty of Blue Elemental is that it hits permanence, right?
Yeah.
It's not a mystical dispute.
Yeah, they're probably not going to have a hasty 10/10 or something.
Plus, I want to make sure I'm hitting because I know I'm playing Goyf turn 2, which means I want to make sure I'm hitting my land on turn 3.
Okay.
Increase my chances of hitting land on turn 3. And then I've got untapped mana to go. I've got my Goyf, and now turn 3, I've got Path, Blue Elemental, Submerge up with the threat. And then I can play that control role now that I've got my threat out. So I'm either capitalizing on damage with Goyf or
defending.
Or I'm defending. Yeah.
So they're brainstorming. Okay, they're brainstorming. This is good. They haven't got a turn 1 threat.
That's right.
But some of the scariest hands I find with Rogue Prowess is like when they get 1, 2, or even 3 creatures out, and then every spell gives each creature a
it's a lightning bolt on. It's like lightning bolt draw a card. Your Preordain is a lightning bolt draw card. It's phenomenal.
Carpet's good.
Very good.
Luckily, you got the basic forest to get around it a little bit.
It's also giving them red mana, which they didn't have. They could have fetched red mana, but it sort of makes their mana a lot better.
Carpet's not at its best in such a low CMC deck. Like, you don't. I suppose you want to deploy lots of cards in one turn. In that sense, it is good.
I think it's not at its best, but I mean, I've said it before. I think Carpet's probably.
There's no attack there. Was that a mistake?
Yeah.
Oh no, because they could only get the red mana post combat. Yeah.
No, I think Carpet's probably the best sideboard card in Highlander.
Yeah, certainly a strong draw towards playing green.
Yeah, I think it's better than if I had to choose between Pyroblast and Carpet, I'd choose Carpet.
Yeah,
it really is the best.
It's got that recurring advantage.
Yeah, that's right. It just you always feel like you can use the mana
in your decks, definitely. Yeah,
even if it's going, oh well, I'll just flicker my Battle Skull, play it again. It's a luxury I wasn't able to use, and I didn't really have to do it. But if I can,
okay. So they've got Acol here, and you've got no interaction.
Pretty strong, but once again, like as long as I can, my Goyf.
How big is he?
He's a 3/4 at the moment.
Okay, that's good. They need to cast another 2 spells to attack.
They have to either have 2 creatures, or be at a stage where they can remove the Goyf.
And you've got Submerge as well.
That's right.
So that's even if they try and go off here, You've got like a trump sprite dragon.
Yeah.
That's good for like next turn, starting to build up a good mass. So their board's looking good. They got 5 cards in hand. Still a lot of gas. But you've got a very cheap interaction.
That's right. And once again, I mean, I could submerge here, but it's going back to what I said, that infect style play where no, I don't want to do it in combat and then get done by a blossoming defense. I'd rather just ensure that it's going to resolve 100%.
You can also, another good combination here, you can submerge and then path, so they have to shuffle the threat into their deck.
Oh, yeah.
You could leave them with no creatures. So tell me about your thinking in this turn. Why didn't you cast Acol, for example?
Good call. I had hit my 3rd line drop, first of all, and I'm scared of days, spell pierces, stuff like that, and
probably would have had to discard to hand size anyway.
And this is just so key in terms of I need to get the threats off the board. I mean, as I said last game, I won with my opponent with 7 cards in hand because they didn't have a prowess threat. So I'm pretty scared of these prowess threats. I respect them a lot, and I know I just said before I should be playing in my main phase, but I figure Acol can bait a spell. It can get beta counter spell, and then I've got 3 removal spells in Path, Submerge, Blue Elemental that cost 2 mana. So 3 removals that cost 2 mana, and I think that's enough, even against this in combat. So I wouldn't do it unless you had 3. I wouldn't do this with 2 kill spells. It's too risky. But 3 kill spells,
you think you can overcome their interaction?
I think so, especially with an Acol that can bait a spell, as I said.
That's an interesting threat in this deck. I don't know how good it is. I haven't tried it much.
The copy doesn't get you prowess, but certainly you can like bolt something. It's pretty strong.
Yeah. It's good for it if you find yourself in more of an attrition-based battle.
I gave it a try in my deck, actually, and I cut it. But I would play it if I was playing him to Turek or Time Walk. I'd play it.
The difference, I mean, in this, the Snapcast is really good because you can use it to get prowess mid-combat and like at instant speed, whereas this is a little trickier at a time. Metamorphose, getting some triggers there. Yeah.
And it's copied, of course.
Oh, so that generates mana.
Yep.
So you're going to have 4 mana now. They already started the turn with 5 mana. I think they did use their Carpet.
Yeah, I think, oh, did they?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, they got red to play the Metamorphose. Yep. But yeah, they've got 5 mana here and 6 cards in hand after this one. And they've got 2 prowesses, so they're going off, certainly.
Yeah, but if you didn't have the Goif, you'd be on 16 or something, like a lower life total because of the Swift Spear would have attacked last turn.
That's right. And the Goif is so beautiful. Even if the Swift Spear gets ahead of the Goif, it has to be 5 power to beat the Goif. And at that point, it's like, a chump block's not that bad anyway. Or they have to get trampled. Yeah.
Questing Beast is quite good as well because it can do that dual role of like attacking and defending at the same time.
Big time. I mean, I consider myself to be...
Scale up, that's a big one.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's scary. So do you remove here or do you wait?
So scale up turns the creature green. And I'm not 100% on the rules, but I think it means I can't Blue Elemental Blast it.
Right.
If it becomes green. I don't know if it keeps its other colours. But I was like, I'm just not worth the risk because I don't want it to be green and then I can't bleb it, Blue Elemental Blast it. So I path, expect the path to get countered, and then I can Blue Elemental.
Okay.
They've got 3 in their pool, right?
And you've always got Submerged, this is Apostle's Blessing. So
trigger again. And this is why you shouldn't do it in combat. I know I'm doing it, but as I said, I got three spells. But you shouldn't do it in combat because look at, I mean, if they have a, if I go for a Blue Elemental here and they have a Spell Pierce, I mean, it's
a lot of damage.
I haven't done the maths, but it's game over, right?
So Apostle's Blessing gives it protection from
the color of your choice. Yeah.
From white, okay.
Yeah. So the Blue Elemental resolves, Apostles targeting nothing resolves, Path targeting nothing resolves, and then Scale Up targeting nothing resolves.
So you're getting rid of that. So it's interesting that they scaled up the Sprite Dragon, maybe because Oscar's got flying.
Which tells me they don't have Trample.
Yeah, but if they scaled up the Swift Spear, they would have kept the they could have attacked into the Goif as well as the flying, and they could have kept their better permanent threat if it got removed.
I mean, I didn't do the maths, but I suggest there's a good chance they just had lethal.
Okay.
right? Especially on the assumption that I'm going to interact once, because they couldn't beat me interacting twice, but they could beat me interacting once. Yeah, I didn't do the maths, but it'd be very close to lethal.
Mm.
And if not lethal, then exhausting me of my interaction and killing me in the next turn or two.
So when you see that questing beast there and they got one green source, are you happy that questing beast is in your hand, or?
Pretty happy. It's
Okay.
a threat. I've got Brainstorm ACOL, so I'm confident I'll be able to cast it at some point.
Yeah.
And you said it perfectly. Questing beast is a really good one to attack. And I'm really glad to see Lava Dart here.
Yeah, that's pretty desperate. Just trying to get some damage in past the Goy.
Yeah, Lava Dart, once they start Lava Darting, also they don't have a mountain to flash it back, but once they start Lava Darting, you know, it's not a real spell. It's basically only there for the prowess, which means that this Submerge is very close to a 2-for-1 because they've wasted their Lava Dart. Yeah. And I'm not sure how big that
I think it was 5.
But it was very, very big. After Exalted, I think it was 6-7.
Okay. And that gives you a bit of information as well because you know the next draw.
Yeah. So I didn't find land off the ACOL, but I've got a Brainstorm here.
So they've only got 2 cards left, not heaps of gas to combo off.
Definitely Batterskull's a bit slow.
Yeah, without Stoneforge it is. I think that. Mystical Dispute's a bit iffy as well, maybe?
It is a bit iffy. I think I'm tossing up to a Mystical Dispute and something in Ponder.
Okay, so you've already got the selection. You don't want more.
Yeah, they've got quite a lot of mana, so Dispute's not great. But
you could have been tempted to keep Batterskull too, because with the birds and the land, you would have had 5 mana, and the life gain is relevant.
It is, but I think closing the clock is more important, and Questing Beast does that.
Yeah, so you can next turn your Questing Beast and hold up a little bit of interaction.
Yeah, and I like the Spell Pierce and the Mystical Dispute feel pretty bad against the Carpet, but I do like having 3 different 1-mana counter spells here.
Options, yeah. Well, that's a nice target for spell snare as well.
Big time.
Especially that ACOL in the bin, so that would have got them a full grip again.
Yeah.
I think that's a good card. It's underplayed in Highlander, I think. I think you can...
Dreadhorde?
Yeah. I think you could even play it in a pure control deck.
People are playing it in some things, I think.
Okay. As long as you swing once and you get something off of it, it's okay. Yeah. Anything more than that's really good.
Very happy to see Force Negation because that makes my mediocre Spell Pierce suddenly really good.
And your plan of tapping out for a threat is backed up. And
I get to swing Goyf here because of the Vigilance on Questing Beast, which is huge. They're both 4, so that's 8 damage.
Yeah, so that a more conservative player,
the corner. Yeah,
more conservative player would have held back the Goyf, knowing, I'm just getting 4 in. I'll just chip in and hold up my blockers. But you're like, no, you want to finish quickly. Like,
well, I've got a Chump Blocker and Birds.
Okay.
And I've got 2 counter spells in Force Negation and either Spell Pierce or Mystical. And I've got another really good blocker that's Death Touch. My life total's high. I just really don't think they can kill me next turn. And if they can't kill me next turn, then the swing is free.
And their top decks are a little bit better than yours in the sense that they got fewer lands as well. So if you kind of hang out in the mid game, they might start top decking better and get back into it.
That's a really good point, yeah.
Yeah.
One big advantage of tempo versus control is that, you're top decking more gas more regularly. That's one of the big things about Carpet. You get to, it's almost card advantage in that you can start pondering down your lands because you don't need it because you've got Carpet of Flowers,
Well, they got 7 mana. That's the thing, but they can't use it because they don't have enough gas. And
it's a good one, mind you, because it's flying and it gets around all my counter magic and my blockers.
Yeah. But yeah, that Questing Beast is so sweet in that they can't, not being able to chump it, it's so devastating.
And they're swinging a 3/2 here, and they've obviously got something. There's no way they play that without they swing that. But I know I've got the Spell Piece here, so I'll Force Negation, because they've got Noble Hierarch.
Yeah, so you're using the Force just to keep your Questing Beast alive, more damage. Yeah.
I mean, and it's also, I'm not losing card advantage because, like, they've invested 2 cards, Berserk and Seagate, and I'm investing 2 cards. And when I'm up on board and cards, I'm happy to do that.
I mean, they did get another card out of the Seagate, but I don't think card advantage it's not about cards at this point. It's about staying alive.
Well, I've still got loot tree as well. Keep in mind.
Yeah. Okay. So if they had a Veil here or something, it'd be good.
Yeah, but they're hellbent. Yeah.
Yeah, and they got no cards, and they'd still lose their creature because of the Death Touch. Oh, and Berserk kills it as well. That was just a desperate attempt. Would that have been enough damage to win, or no?
For them?
Yeah,
no, not close.
No. They just wanted to get some damage in.
Yeah.
That's you being polite, saying thank you. So, what are your final thoughts on that match? You drew good hands.
My final thoughts are: I think the ProwessS deck is very good if you don't know how to play against it. If your opponent doesn't know how to play against it, because it's very difficult to navigate. And I'm lucky in that I sort of got a bit of a heads up reading your article on how to play it, and also having a bit of experience playing against Infect. Yeah, and I think maybe my opponent gushed a bit too soon, but otherwise they played pretty well.
Cool. Yeah, and you just had some judicious cards in terms of the cheap interaction, and you were able to draw them and back it up with threats. That also shows the power of your green threats, I think, in terms of just being able to apply a lot of damage quickly, like Goyf and because those games could have dragged on, they could have kind of got back in it somehow.
That's
right. You were able to have that closing power.
And Goyf, as you said, being a moat effect. Such a simple card, but it does so many things, doesn't it?
Yeah. Sweet. Oh, well done. Let's move on. Let's have a look at round 2 and see how you go there.
Thanks for watching.